Hello guys and welcome back. It's another day of Junk Journal January. It is day 13 and our prompt word is pattern. And I don't know where my little sheet went. Here it is. Yes. So pattern is our word for today. So this got me thinking, we could do a sewing journal and work with, the pattern paper that comes with the patterns, or that sort of thing, but I wanted to take it in a different way, and a lot of people have done this as well, is we literally all have pattern papers that just may no longer be our style, may not be something that we are necessarily in love with anymore, but there's certain papers that come in a pack, you're like, I love this, but that one is like not my favorite. And we're going to work with some of that today. So I have here some less desirable papers. Not to say that I can't use them, but they're not the ones that I would be reaching for on a daily for things for my journal or ephemera for my journal. So this one here is super cute. I got it at the dollar store and I was like, oh, it's only like, $1.50. I have to have it. It's so cute. And it is. It's absolutely cute. Look at the little ocean animals. And it was great when I was making cards, especially for kids, that I could incorporate some of these papers. But, on the daily, it's not necessarily something I'm going to use on a regular basis. These are some more flimsy scrapbook paper pages. They're copy paper thin. But again, these came in a paper pack that of items that there was papers that I really loved, and then there's things that I'm not exactly wild about. Again, I probably would have used them more in my card making as opposed to journal making. Here's another one. This was another dollar store find. This is a bit thicker. The arrows aren't bad. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the color and everything, but when it's this big or this grand of a pattern, again, not my favorite. So we are going to be completely altering these. And I want to start with this pack here. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to go and play and kind of talk you over, if I need to, the process. My plan is to gesso over it. So that's something that you can definitely do, is grab your gesso if you have gesso, paint over it with your gesso, and then let's make it a new piece of paper. So let's go ahead and start doing that right now. Okay, so the first thing you can see me doing here is I'm literally just throwing down a layer of gesso, just getting it all covered, and then that gives us some tooth and a background to work with, covering that big pattern that's going on. Next thing I'm going to do here is I am adding this 3D Aleene's design paste. I picked out a stencil, so it's a great way, again, to use up those supplies, grab those stencils, and I'm just going through and using my little spatula here and applying a thick layer over top of this stencil. Then I'll pull the stencil up, and again, you want to make sure that if you're using texture paste or anything like this on your stencils or your palette knives and stuff, you are going to want to, as soon as you're done, you're going to go and take those to the sink and get them washed up right away, because they will dry like rock on your stencils and could potentially ruin your stencils. So if you're not overly fond of that particular stencil and you don't care if it gets ruined, you do you, but I've invested money in these stencils and I want to use them over and over. So make sure that you are running them under soapy water and getting them nice, clean, and dry for your next project. And I'll admit, while I was doing this, I was chatting with my bestie, Rosanna, and she had mentioned that there's issues with sound. So if you're finding that there is issues with the sound of the video, it being too loud in some places, not loud enough in others, please let me know, leave a comment down below, but hopefully I have fixed it. So thank you, Rosanna, for letting me know. Okay guys, so I just wanted to slow things down and pop back on here. My texture paste has dried. I dried it with my heat gun. So I really wanted to make sure that the gesso originally that I put down on top of the ugly pattern paper. It was nice and dry. And then I did my texture paste over top. So this texture paste actually is Aileen's 3D Accent Design Paste. And I got this at, I won a basket or something at a craft fair. And it came with a whole bunch of stuff where you can actually model with wire and then use this paste, excuse me, over top. And that's not really kind of my jam, so obviously you can use it for other things. That's why I'm using it on here. I love the way that it came out. I love the texture of it. I've now opened this. I've had it for a couple years, and I've now opened it, so I need to get it used. And the reason why I'm specifically saying that is because I just pulled these paints off of my shelf that I was like, oh, I haven't used these in like forever. I really want to use them. And they have, like, as you can see, the little samples on the top. I just hate that this camera doesn't autofocus, you guys. I don't know how to change it. I'm sorry. But so yeah, it's got, as you can see, all these gorgeous kind of little textures and glitters in it. And this one, all the glitter is like at the bottom. And I've shaken it. I've added a little bit of water, and it's starting to come around. But this is why we have to use our supplies, guys. Don't hoard them. Use them. It doesn't matter if you use them up. It doesn't matter if you use them on the wrong project. You just have to use them to figure out how you like to use them and what projects you might want to use them on. And that's the only way you're going to do it. Or no, is if you use them instead of me buying it, hoarding it, having it sit on my shelf thinking, well, I'll just have to wait for the perfect project. The perfect project is now, is today. Okay, so that absolutely looks like that's a color, isn't it? But I think it's going to look good on here, and hopefully I've got some of those glitter bits worked around. I added, like I said, a little bit of water, but you know what I think I might also do is I have all these Pearlax little micro powders that I haven't used since card making days. And what if we add some of that in there? Now, ooh, this is where I need to, I know I have these little tiny spoons somewhere around here. And let's see if I just can quickly find at least one of them or something that would work in one of my drawers here. Okay, this is promising. Sorry, guys. I'm always such a hot mess when I come on here, but you know what? Maybe it'll make you feel better if you are also a hot mess. You're like, oh, I'm not the only one. Okay, I'm not finding what I need. I know I have a buttload of little spoons. And I know my mom's probably like, check this drawer. She probably knows where they are. Right, Mom? I'm sure you know where my stuff is, because I think, honestly, the last time it had a good clean was when you were over. Okay, well, that's a bust. I'm not going to worry about spending time. Let's use something else. What do I have over here that could remotely be spoon-like? Let's just use this. Okay, I don't know, guys. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna add some of this. This one is the Pearlax 652 Macro Pearl. Then there's, I think, a 650 that's the Micro Pearl, and it's just powder, but it's gorgeous. I don't know if you can really appreciate the shimmer that's in real life is like gobstopping. It is like so super sparkly. So let's just add some of this right in there. Why not? Let's just use our supplies. I've had these micro pearl. Like, oh, it's so pretty. I bet you can't see it. But, you know, really what you would do with it is you would rub it on things. You can even, like, you know, literally rub it directly onto your project with a brush. But so pretty. Let's see what that does. And we'll mix it around. So yeah, the whole thing about today's video, really about pattern, is, you know, if you have these pattern papers that aren't your cup of tea, you can play around. Oh, this is going to be pretty. Totally play around with them, like change them up. They don't have to stay in their original form. Make them so that you will like to use them. And it's a perfect time to experiment using your pattern papers to practice different maybe folds that, you know, you don't want to use what we might consider a good piece of paper. you know, practice on those ugly pattern papers. So let's see how this is going to go. I don't know. It's super shiny and pretty. So let's just kind of, I'm just going to put this on. Now, at this stage, you're like, I'm not so sure that's any better than the original pattern paper. And you could be right. You could be right. But we're experimenting, right? I'm using up paper I wouldn't normally use. I mean, the ocean theme was cute and all, but I don't really see it making its way predominantly into one of my journals as it was. So we're just going to alter it a bit. So just adding paint, add your inks, your Distress Oxide inks, add watercolor, add like the spray paints, like the Distress ink sprays, the Delusions, you know, all those good things. Okay, let's try a different color. So this was literally Recollections. Yeah, it's Recollections Signature Glitter Paint. And this one's in lime. And when I got this, it was like clearance at Michael's many years ago. So, you know, it was probably on its last legs then. But it's still working. We're still getting color out of it. So, you know, if you've had these paints sitting in your art spaces for a long time and you haven't used them, it's time to break them out. Get your ugly papers and let's start playing with them. Let's see if we can make something beautiful out of it. Ooh, this one's going to be pretty. And literally just playing. Like, we might not necessarily be making an actual finished product in this video or with this particular piece, but we're playing, and that's the most important thing. Is we're having fun, we're playing, we're experimenting, we're learning, and we're using up our supplies. And then, you know, this might have been, had I used this right away, it might have been a product that I was like, oh, I absolutely love working with it, and I can figure out, you know, 55 different projects I can use it on. But I didn't. I bought it and it sat on my shelf because I was too afraid to use it. And that's just bonkers, right? Like, who does that? So if I really like it, then of course I can buy more. If not, well, I know. And I can do a couple things. Not use it again and give it away. Or, you know, like just, you know, maybe I can figure out another way to use it to stain papers or something. Maybe I can dye papers with it. Who knows? But I think this is fun. This green and pink together, I think is kind of a cool little combination. So there we go. And it's definitely got some little texture bits in it. So there we go. We've got a fun little new pattern piece that we created ourselves out of something that we didn't like. And then, yeah, we could make pockets with this. We can pockets, flips, tags. This can be part of a tag. We can rip it up for collage. There's so much that we can do with this. I love this. I actually really love this. I love the texture. I love the green and pink together. Definitely makes me want to play more with these ones, maybe get them reactivated. I think these two colors together would be really nice. Like a fall. Oh, add in that red. Gorgeous. Yeah, so this is just another idea of what to do with your pattern papers that you don't really like. So let's move on to something else. Okay, so for the next thing, guys, it is pretty self-explanatory. Just looking at your papers and realizing that you don't have to use them on the whole. So I have taken a bunch of papers before that, you know, aren't necessarily my favorite or in my wheelhouse of what I want to do, and I make little tiny embellishments out of them. So just using my punches and, you know, hole punching different sizes of things and then making, you know, little embellishments out of them, inking them up. So as you can see, there's, you know, kind of different types of paper. Here's another one here where I used my silhouette machine. So if you have like a Brother Scan and Cut or a Silhouette or a Cricut, you know, all those lovely cut files, cut out these little flowers and stuff from papers that you don't enjoy, but they look fantastic as little embellishments. Pardon me, right? This one was really fun. I used a child's bead, one of these plastic beads, and a fun little brad and just kind of created a 3D embellishment that can go on something, you know, likely better with these thicker items. You can see that's pretty thick, you know, have it go on maybe on the outside of a journal or something that you can actually take out like a tag, because if it's like glued directly to a page of a journal, the bumpiness of it is going to probably impede on, you know, maybe writing, and you might need a writing board. And I just realized I cut myself somehow, so pardon me and my blood. So if you're squeamish, look away. So there's that. And I'm also in a tizzy because I, for the life of me, cannot find my brand new whale tail tab punch. Like, it literally just grew legs and decided it was like out of here. I don't know. I've checked everywhere. That just means I need to desperately clean my craft room. Okay, so you got these little tiny punches here. Again, I cut a whole bunch of these little things so that I can have them ready to make flowers. So there's that. This is great too. That I love is having a whole reinforcer punch. Again, maybe not your favorite papers, but super cool to have a whole bunch of these on hand to really, you know, jazz up your tags and stuff if you're reinforcing holes. I think these are fun just to have a little container of them. Do I have another little container that I can put these in? I have a whole bunch of die cuts in my drawers here, guys, from, you know, different projects we work on. But, you know, having these little die cuts, whether they be words, handy, they're all great. And you can do this out of your pattern paper that you are not overly thrilled with, or it's not kind of your jam, right? The other thing is, obviously, you can, like we did with the other one, we, let me catch my breath here. We gessoed over it and then did some stenciling with texture paste. You can do the same thing with jelly printing, jelly print all over it. Gail Augustinelli does a fabulous job with her videos showing you how to do that. Just honestly, you could probably look at any of her Mixed Media Monday ones, but she does have one specifically talking about taking papers that you're not overly fond of and jelly printing on them and making them new. So there's definitely something to be said there. So yeah, we've got whole reinforcers, we've got circles that we can have to make future embellishments. Cutting a whole bunch of these out for tabs is really interesting. So just take this, and again, if I had my whale tail punch, I'd be a lot happier as well. But yeah, just creating these little embellishments and having them ready that you can either put on the top of a tag, a journal card, a page, having these ready to go with the papers that you're not necessarily fond of, but, you know, they can still work. So, you know, this is taking that grand scale pattern and just taking a snippet of it. It's just much more palatable for me, right? I think that just looks cute, and we can attach that. What do I have in here? Might not necessarily go 100%, but, you know, we could attach that to the top of a little journal card, and then it's easier to pull out, right? So just little ways to use that pattern paper up and step up your projects in the process. The other one I kind of wanted to talk about is if they have large images on them, you can cut those images out. So just, you know, the specific images. So this one I cut out and I backed on some divider paper. And now this is a really cute little pocket, right? We could put a word in there. We could put, you know, a flower. My little flower image, is that going to be too much? You know, we could embellish it with something like that. But yeah, take the images that are literally in your papers and cut them out. This one here. So this, what would I do with this pattern paper? I would honestly cut this down. This is great writing space that I can back a tag with. So yeah, back other papers for stability with it. You need writing space. Take a look at your pattern papers that you have. Something like this, great for that. You know, again, this, I could totally fussy cut this out and use it as an embellishment, right? Those are so gorgeous that we can do that with them. Yeah, I think, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of what I had in mind for pattern paper. Again, I know that some of these videos are shorter, but I am on a time crunch to be able to get all of this done and still participate. That's my goal. Whether the video is super long or short isn't. My focus is just making sure that I'm participating and getting done the challenges and out to you guys. So again, nothing maybe obviously mind-blowing, but still maybe it just, you hadn't thought of it or it jogged your memory and you're like, oh yeah, I could totally do that with that pattern paper, right? Sometimes you just need that reminder. So again, obviously nothing that I'm saying here is new. Other people have done videos, but this is just kind of my take on it, and it just kind of really boosted me to, again, yeah, look at my pattern papers and take the less desirable ones and let's get them used. Let's do something with them instead of them just sitting there in my museum of craft supplies. So again, just a cute little embellishment, and I think that would look cute on a journal page. You know, the whole page as a whole was not very appealing to me. This is great to back stuff with. It's great for collage. You know, and what am I going to do with this? I will probably cut it down like that. I can now use this to stamp words on like we did the other day. But I'll keep these in my little stash here, and I'll use them for collage or stamping on or what have you. But, you know, now it's going to get used. It's going to get used because I've pulled it out and I am conscious of what I have and what I can do. So yeah, I'll finish fussy cutting some of this stuff out and making these papers just more usable. Here's another one that actually would be great, is in its entirety. It's a lot, right? It's very bright, it's bold, it's happy. Don't get me wrong, it's happy, but maybe not in its entirety something I would use. But again, we can cut these out and use them as washi strips, page borders, again, collage, embellishments on tags. So even though the whole page might not be usable as like a page in a journal, we can cut it down and embellish with it. So with all that said, let's bring everything out here. I hope that this has kind of given you an idea of what to do with those less desirable pattern papers. I think my biggest thing is that I like to do with them is, you know, make these little embellishments out of them. You can ink them up, again, paint over, whatever you like, but these are just some things that you can use in our pattern paper glory here. Try to set this all up. Did I get everything I wanted to talk about? I think so. Cut out the large images, jelly print over top, back other papers for stability, create embellishments, cut them down on a smaller scale. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for those less desirable papers. And then if all else fails, if you don't think you can do anything with them, gather them up, post them on your local marketplace. There's people who are, you know, can't afford supplies and maybe would love these papers. Donate them to maybe an old folks home, or like a senior center, donate them to the library, donate them to preschools. They're always looking for supplies because their budgets are super tight. So having said all of that, where are we at here? Do I have my little sheet? No, of course I've lost my sheet. It's somewhere probably with my hole punch or my tab whale tail punch. I don't know. I don't know where my Junk Journal January prompts list went. It's around here somewhere, which means I am now going to clean up my craft area. All right, guys, thank you so much again for joining me for today's video. Hope it sparked some ideas for you. Enjoy your time, and P.S. I love you.